Ethan had no idea this flight would change everything. The plane soared above the river, sunlight reflecting off the waves below. Then, chaos. A sharp gasp. The pilot clutched his chest, eyes wide with terror. The control stick jerked. A warning alarm blared. Passengers screamed. Ethan's instincts kicked in, his military training flashing back like a buried nightmare. But this was different. One wrong move, and they were all dead. He reached for the controls, unaware that fate had just rewritten his future. The pilot's breathing turned ragged, his fingers twitching as he tried to steady the plane. Ethan unbuckled his seatbelt, his pulse hammering. "Hey, stay with me!" he shouted, shaking the man's shoulder, but the pilot's head slumped forward. The plane dipped violently. Passengers shrieked as luggage tumbled from the overhead bins. If you are enjoying the story, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you do not miss what happens next. Ethan's hands trembled as he reached for the controls. He had no idea how to fly a plane, but doing nothing was not an option. He scanned the cockpit, desperately trying to make sense of the blinking lights and dials. The radio crackled. "Flight 782, you are off course. Respond immediately." "Mayday," Ethan shouted, pressing the headset against his ear. "The pilot is down. I repeat, the pilot is down." "Who is this? Are you a trained pilot?" Ethan's throat tightened. "No, but I need to be right now." The plane shuddered as the engine groaned. Ethan's muscles coiled. He had faced death before, but never like this. His past rushed back. Military training, battlefield instincts, survive, adapt, overcome. A soft sob snapped him back to the present. A woman gripping her seat with white knuckles, locked eyes with him. "Please, do something," she whispered. Ethan exhaled sharply. He did not know her name, did not know her story, but he was not about to let her or anyone else die today. His grip tightened on the control stick. Whatever happened next, there was no turning back. Ethan's heart pounded as the plane shuddered again, dipping slightly to the left. The weight of the control stick in his hands made his muscles tense. He had been in combat, had faced bullets and explosions, but nothing compared to this. Being thousands of feet in the air, responsible for dozens of terrified lives. The radio crackled once more. "Unidentified speaker, do you have control of the aircraft?" Ethan's throat felt dry. I'm trying." His fingers fumbled over the controls, his mind racing to recall anything useful. He had been on military choppers before, had seen pilots operate them, but commercial planes were a completely different beast. A sharp gasp from behind made him glance over his shoulder. The woman who had pleaded with him earlier was now gripping the armrest, her knuckles white. Her eyes darted between him and the unconscious pilot. "You have to land this thing," she whispered. Ethan swallowed hard. "Yeah, I figured." He turned his attention back to the radio. "I need help. I don't know how to fly this thing." "Stay calm," the voice on the other end said. "This is air traffic control. We're going to guide you through this. First, tell me your altitude." Ethan scanned the control panel, his vision blurring with the overload of flashing lights and numbers. I don't know. Look at the instrument cluster. There's a gauge marked ALT. His eyes darted over the dashboard, finally landing on a small circular gauge with numbers ticking downward. 9,000 feet, and dropping. A beat of silence. Then the voice returned, sharper this time. "You need to stabilize the plane. Gently pull back on the yoke." Ethan took a deep breath and tightened his grip. Slowly, he pulled back, feeling the resistance fight against him. The plane leveled slightly, but the alarms were still blaring. "That's good," the voice said. "Now listen carefully. We're going to walk you through the landing procedure. Just follow my instructions exactly." Ethan didn't respond. His eyes flickered to the passengers. Some were sobbing, some whispering prayers. He saw a child clutching his mother's arm, tears streaking down his face. Failure wasn't an option. The woman beside him spoke again, her voice softer now. "You never told me your name." "Ethan," he muttered, not taking his eyes off the controls. She nodded. "I'm Claire." A violent jolt sent both of them forward. The alarm screamed louder. Ethan's stomach twisted. "Ethan," the voice from air traffic control barked. "You have an emergency. Your left engine is failing." His grip tightened. He had survived war. He had faced death before. But could he survive this? Ethan's mind raced. A failing engine. That meant less thrust, less control. He gritted his teeth, gripping the yoke tighter. The plane vibrated violently as if resisting his every move. "Ethan!" The air traffic controller's voice was firm, urgent. "You need to stay calm. We can get you down, but you have to listen carefully." "Got it," Ethan said through clenched teeth. "First, maintain your altitude. Do not let the plane nosedive. Keep steady pressure on the yoke." Ethan did as told, but the left wing was dipping, the plane tilting dangerously. Claire gasped, grabbing onto the panel for balance. "We are losing control," Ethan barked. "You need to compensate," the controller responded. "Adjust the rudder pedals, ease the right one forward." Ethan's boot pressed against the right pedal, trying to stabilize the aircraft. The plane wobbled, but held. "Good," the voice said. "Now, listen closely. You're about 15 minutes from the nearest runway. We are clearing it for an emergency landing. But with that engine failing, we need to descend gradually, not too fast, or you'll lose what little control you have." Ethan exhaled sharply. "Tell me what to do." Before the controller could respond, a sudden voice behind them made Ethan turn. "Let me help." A man, probably in his mid-50s, stepped forward. He had short gray hair and sharp eyes, his expression focused despite the chaos around them. "I am a retired pilot," the man said. "Not commercial, but small aircraft. I can assist." Ethan hesitated. Could he trust this stranger with their lives? "We do not have time for second-guessing," Claire said firmly. "Let him help." Ethan nodded. "All right, what do you know?" The man slid into the co-pilot seat, glancing over the controls. "Your biggest problem is that left engine. We need to balance the power from the right one." He reached over and adjusted a throttle lever. The shaking lessened slightly. "Good," the air traffic controller said. "Now begin a slow descent. Reduce altitude by 500 feet per minute." Ethan followed the instructions, sweat trickling down his forehead. The radio crackled again. "Runway is clear. Fire and rescue are on standby." Claire let out a shaky breath. "We are going to make it." But just as those words left her mouth, the plane lurched. A loud bang echoed through the cabin. Alarms wailed. The retired pilot's face paled. The second engine. It was failing. They were losing power. The plane was going down. Ethan's breath hitched as the plane lurched violently, the nose tipping downward. A sickening weightlessness filled the cabin. Passengers screamed. Overhead compartments burst open, bags spilling into the aisles. "We lost the second engine!" the retired pilot shouted. Ethan's hands tightened around the yoke. His mind screamed for a solution, but he was running out of time. "Ethan!" Air traffic control's voice crackled in his ear. "You are in a full descent. You need to glide the plane in." "Glide?" Ethan's pulse pounded. He had no power left to control speed. They were falling, fast. "Pull back, just a little," the retired pilot urged. "We need to level out, or we will nosedive into the ground." Ethan yanked the yoke gently. The plane fought against him, the controls sluggish. They were still dropping, but the angle was shifting, the fall less steep. "Runway in sight," air traffic control called out. "You need to extend the landing gear now." Ethan reached for the lever. His fingers trembled as he pulled it down. A mechanical groan echoed beneath them. Come on," he muttered. A terrifying pause, then a loud clunk. The landing gear locked into place. "Gear is down," the retired pilot confirmed, but their speed was still too high. "We are coming in too fast," Ethan growled. "You have to flare at the right moment," air traffic control instructed. "Pull up slightly before impact." The runway rushed toward them. Every second felt like an eternity. Claire squeezed her eyes shut. "Now, Ethan, pull up." He pulled the yoke, gritting his teeth. The plane's nose lifted just enough. A thunderous impact. The tires screeched against the pavement, smoke billowing as they skidded. The aircraft wobbled violently, but Ethan held firm, keeping it straight. The momentum fought against him. Metal groaned, brakes whining under the pressure. Then, silence. The plane came to a shuddering stop. For a moment, nobody moved. Then a deafening cheer erupted. Passengers sobbed, hugged one another. Claire let out a shaky breath, gripping Ethan's arm. "You did it," she whispered. The cockpit door burst open. Emergency crews rushed inside, attending to the unconscious pilot. Ethan's hands shook as he leaned back. It was over. But just as he exhaled in relief, a man in a suit pushed through the crowd. His eyes locked onto Ethan. "You saved my daughter's life," the man said, voice thick with emotion. "And you have no idea who I am." Ethan frowned, exhausted. "Who?" The man extended his hand. "Jonathan Lancaster, Chief Executive Officer of Lancaster Enterprises." Ethan's eyes widened. That name, a billionaire, one of the richest men in the country. Jonathan smiled. "You did not just land a plane. You changed your entire future.